that you are joining us today. We are very excited about today's topic, which is CRM adoption and the big challenge. Thank you for holding a few minutes. We just wanted to give the opportunity to have as many people as possible join our webinar this morning, since we had probably one of the highest registrations that we've had in a while. So again, thank you for taking your time to be with us today. And as we get started, I just want to go through a couple of housekeeping items. On your GoToWebinar control panel, there's a section for questions. Please feel free to add your questions at any time throughout the presentation. If we feel prudent to answer it immediately, we will. If not, we promise that we will answer your question by the end of the presentation. In addition to that, for those of you that are joining us, please note that in the handout section, you can already download our webinar document. So no longer having to wait for us to publish the presentation material. You can have it with you immediately. Just have to go to the handout section, click download, and you'll be able to download the PDF format of today's reference material. So having said that, we'll get started. And again, we look forward to having this be as interactive as possible. So please do ask any questions you may have as we move forward in the presentation. So we're going to start with a question that I think is really important, because on a day-to-day basis, I ask people, how's it going with your CRM? And I get a lot of distinct answers. And, it is a proven known fact that a high percentage of CRM implementations fail. And we're going to correlate that to adoption in a little bit. But we want to be able to address that because, there's many moving parts in a CRM project. And if we go out and we do a simple Google search, we'll find articles that range from a 47% failure rate to an 80% failure rate in CRM implementations. As a matter of fact, we actually carried out that desktop research recently, and this is what we found. Forrester Research has a study out there that says 47% of them fail. Gartner says 50% of them fail. Economist Intelligence Unit predicts that 56% of CRM implementations fails. We see Selling Power, the Chief Sales Officers Forum, predict a 69.3% failure rate. And then you have, Butler with a 70% and Voice to Insights with an 80%. Regardless of whether it's 47 or 80, what we can all agree in is that it's an extremely high number of implementations in the CRM field that actually end up failing. So before we get started, we want to go ahead and we want to pose a question, which is, why do you think these implementations are failing us? So let me go right here, and I'm going to do this quick poll here, and you will let me know your answers. This is interactive. So I'm launching the poll right now, and you should be seeing it in your screens. So you have several options there. It says poor project design or execution of the project, lack of user and or leadership involvement, lack of alignment between business processes and the CRM setup, in other words, the way it was configured, low adoption rates, or other. And we wish we could have given you more options, but webinar allows us to only place 5. So please go ahead and fill out your opinion. And I'm going to close the poll in a few seconds. So I encourage you to please go ahead and select your choices. Okay, so good enough. So interestingly enough, in this poll, we are having a very high percentage that say either lack of alignment between business processes and CRM setup and other. Actually, it's funny because you have 40% in other, and then you have 30% in lack of alignment, and then the other 30% is distributed between poor project design, lack of user and or leadership involvement, and low adoption rates. So that's very interesting. And again, the reason why I like doing this is so that you see that the reason why your project is failing is not necessarily the reason why others are. And this is really, really important because you want to make sure that throughout your process, by the way, I'm going to close the poll. I see some of you still filling it out. Actually, that's funny because somebody else actually increased the low adoption rate went up and the rest went down. That's interesting. And it's funny that somebody did that, and I'm going to answer that in just a minute because I think it's an important conversation. So understanding your business culture is really going to have a significant impact in your CRM success. So the first thing I wanted to demonstrate based on the results of the poll is that it's all over the place, with two that had the majority, other and lack of alignment between business process. That actually changed at the end to low adoption rates. And what's interesting about this is that most people, when I do these polls, they qualify it as low adoption rates. The vast majority believes that the reason why these projects fail is because of low adoption rate. However, it's not consistent. Every time we do this, we get different answers. And that's why, for us, the message we want to carry out is it's not one thing or another. It doesn't matter. The reality is that the success rate is going to depend heavily on your business culture. So, and I'm going to explain that because, a lot of people say, well, it was the design, it was the implementation, it was the adoption. Actually, it has nothing to do with the adoption. And yet, that's one of the most popular answers. And I'm going to explain that in a minute. But what I want you to understand first is your business culture will have the most impact in whether you're successful in the CRM implementation or not. Why? Because it's primarily used voluntarily. And what do I mean by that? Normally, when you have an ERP to issue an invoice, that's a mandatory technology. Everybody that's going to be issuing an invoice has to use it. Anybody that's going to look for a product and inventory has to use it. You have no choice. With CRM, what ends up happening oftentimes is that people are using the CRM for some things, meaning that some are going to use it to find out customer information, account informations. Others are going to use it because their boss is going to insist that the opportunities are in there so they can look at the pipeline. Others may use it because they want to see how many leads were generated out of a campaign. And the reality is that you're only using a 2 or a 3% of the capabilities of your CRM. And that has to do more with the culture than with anything else. Because even when you have a great implementation with great alignment between the business processes, the users, and the way you set up the technology, if your people don't have a disposition to use the CRM, you're not going to get the results that you're expecting. Okay? So the first thing we want you to know is you need to understand your business culture, because that's going to help you define your action plan to increase your success rate. And I said before, I'm going to explain to you why lack of adoption is the most frequently answered question to why projects fail. And I'm going to counter that with the following. Lack of adoption is never the problem. Lack of adoption is a symptom of disengagement. Meaning lack of adoption is a consequence. It's not the root cause of why the project fails. Maybe people don't adopt it because they don't find it relevant. Maybe people don't adopt it because they don't know how to use it. Maybe people don't adopt it because the culture doesn't demand that they use it. You see, so this is why adoption is such a big challenge for most companies after the CRM implementation. There are challenges before, but the most common challenge, by and large, is adoption. So for me, the message is look at user involvement. Look at the way you're communicating. Look at the way you're aligning your CRM with your best practices. And look at the priorities and the business processes that the users are using on a day-to-day basis, because these are the enablers to engagement. If the CRM solves my problem, I'm going to use it. If the CRM complicates my day, I'm not going to use it. So we want to make sure that we understand that it's going to be cultural, because we know how quickly people onboard or not. We know what they respond well to, and we know what they don't respond well to. And then we know the value that they want to get from a tool. And if we give it to them, and that's aligned with best practices, then we're heading in a completely new direction. So it's really, really important that you understand lack of adoption is not the problem. Just as it's not the problem how the CRM was implemented. The CRM is normally implemented the way the customer requires it to be. But oftentimes, they're missing the bigger picture because they're doing it for the wrong reasons. Everybody believes, yeah, we need to have a CRM. But the first question is, why do you need a CRM? What are you trying to solve? What is the issue that you're trying to address? What is the goal that you want to reach through the CRM? So you need to understand that. And now that you understand that and you understand your culture, then you drive the enablers. So really, really important that we set aside a little time to consider this, because it's a huge myth that user adoption is the reason why CRM implementations fail. User adoption is simply a symptom of a failed implementation. It's not the other way around. So having said that, what we want to do on today's webinar is focus on the adoption inhibitors. What are the things that get in the way of, high levels of adoption? And I hate to focus it on the inhibitors and not on the enablers. I will speak to the enablers at the end, but you're going to see that they very much correlate to the inhibitors. The reason why we chose to focus on inhibitors and not enablers is because we create more awareness and people are much more in tune, and they pay much more attention when you tell them this is the problem. Okay, so we're going to address those and we're going to go through 4 of them. We're not going to do 500. I'm sure if you did some Google research, you'll find, 1,001 reasons, why there's not adoption. As a matter of fact, when I was preparing this documentation, I went out and I wanted to see what, the latest and greatest was on this issue, and nobody agrees. I mean, it's just too many things that are different. A few are common, and those are the ones that I want to focus on, the ones that we all agree need to be addressed. So having said that, let's go into these inhibitors. And the number 1 inhibitor is we're not engaging the users in the design and or the implementation of the CRM. In other words, we're driving a lot of these implementations from the top down. So management understands it's important. We're looking at more customer insights. We want to transform the business. We want to be more consultative in our selling process, B2B. We want to have a better understanding of the customer on our B2C efforts. So we go out there with a very clear decision based on pretty good reasoning on why we're going to do this implementation, but we leave out the people that are actually going to use it. So now this becomes as an imposed initiative. This becomes as something that is new, different, more to do that I didn't have to do before, and so the problem begins. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are engaging the users in the design. You're saying, hey guys, this is what we're putting together. This is what we understand you'd like to overcome. These are the challenges that you have today as we know them. Are these correct? Yes, no. If the answer is no, what other ones should we be looking at? See, now that the conversation has taken that level, your users are now going to be much more receptive because they're going to start understanding the value for them. So for you, the benefit is that their feedback is going to be absolutely critical to how relevant they find the ultimate CRM configuration. And it's also going to be a big enabler of peer buy-in. Because if I buy into it, I'm going to have 2 or 3 other peers that are going to buy into it. If I don't, I'm going to automatically draw negative attention to a CRM, and I may have other peers that don't buy into it. So you want to make sure you're engaging the users in the design, that they're having an active role in the process, and that when you start implementations, they are there testing and telling you what's working and what's not. I cannot tell you the number of times that we're doing a training and the people that are going to be using the tool say, well, that's not how we do it here. And now we have to go explain, well, the reason is that we want to do it better, so we're changing it. Well, why is this a surprise to them? So you see, we start off on the wrong foot when we don't engage them, when we don't involve them, and we don't give them participation in both the design and the implementation process. So that's the adoption inhibitor number 1. Clearly, the enabler is to do the opposite. Okay, so that's the direction we're heading with this. And here's the message. If the primary users, whether they're sales, marketing, or customer service, are not consulted and engaged in the design and deployment, they will not feel the empowerment and enthusiasm that is required to succeed with the CRM. Why? Because remember, it is mostly not mandatory. Okay, and some customers say, you know what, we're making it mandatory. And I ask them, well, how exactly are you doing that? Oh, if they don't enter the information, they will not get paid commission. Well, let me tell you something. You know, that may work for you in the sense that you will have visibility of the opportunities, but that does not guarantee by any stretch of the imagination that they are actually following best practices, that they are actually using the CRM to enable their success and to drive more visits and to drive better qualification and better prospecting and, you know, shortening their sales cycle, you know, identifying the right decision makers. That's not going to change that. It's just going to appear in the report because you told them that if they didn't put it there, they weren't going to get paid. So that's not how you drive real adoption. That's what I call make-believe adoption. These guys are smart. They know what you're looking for in the reports, and they'll just enter that information. But the CRM is truly not giving them any value. They're just using it to feed information to you. And that's not what the CRM is intended to do. So you want to make sure that these guys are a part of it, because at the end, what you want is for them to feel empowered, and you want them to feel enthusiastic and welcoming of the idea that there's going to be a new day and it's a new dawn and it's going to be a renewed opportunity for them to do more with less, for them to be more effective, for them to close more deals, for them to see more customers, and for them to make more money. That's what's going to excite them. So we need to make that connection early on so that when we start with the rumors, we start with positive rumors. We start with enthusiastic rumors. Okay, so that's where we're heading with this, and that's exactly how you're going to get off on the right foot, and you're going to start driving the collaboration, the feedback, the empowerment, and the enthusiasm that you want to drive your CRM deployment. Another important inhibitor is the lack of practical alignment between functional processes and the automation that's configured in the CRM. And I'm going to explain that a little bit further. So the key conversation when we are evaluating a customer's readiness for CRM, or we're doing a business process review, is we want to understand their processes. Many times these processes are not documented. And I will tell you that most of the time that the processes are documented, nobody really follows them. They're just sitting, in a shelf, and they get pulled out for certain purposes. Most of them not good, by the way. And that's not really what you want. What you want is practical processes. In other words, how are you doing it today? Forget what the book says. How are you doing it today? Which of these things are working? Great, we keep those. Which of these things are not working? Good, let's get rid of those. Now, how do we make it better altogether? Let's forget the way we're doing it. How do we actually go about what we're doing differently? How do we take this opportunity to bring our whole organization to the next level? And that's what practical alignment means. It's not about, oh yeah, here's a manual, read it. That's how I want it implemented. Guess what? That's the worst thing you can do, because A, you will not get innovation out of the process. B, you will automate bad practices. C, you will automate practices that nobody even knows they have to follow. And D, you're going to create confusion in the process. So what you want to do is you want to say what works, what doesn't work. Let's take the good stuff. Let's keep that. Let's take the bad stuff. Let's get rid of it. And now that we've established this, let's look at it in a whole new way. How do we go about doing this better? And how do we, shorten the response time to resolve a customer problem in the customer service area? How do we accelerate the sales cycle in the sales area? How do we optimize the number of qualified leads that we get out of a campaign? These are the conversations. These are conversations that your users understand, because guess what? They are being measured on those. Okay, so if you want to know where somebody's focus is on, find out what they're being measured by. And that's exactly what you want to do here. So you want that alignment to be practical, to be functional, and to ultimately make the users better at doing their job, more effective, and gaining them more time, not taking away time from them. Okay, so just to go a little bit deeper in this, remember that teams usually follow a process, formal or not, that defines how they work. Every organization has it, and it gets embedded by inertia. You don't even have to promote it. That's just the way people operate. Why? Because somebody started doing it that way and others followed, and that's stuck. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's the way it normally is. So take a look at that, and based on that, you can make better decisions. Unless the CRM is implemented, taking into account these practices, which, by the way, as you see here in parentheses, I'm not saying you're endorsing them because some of them may not be good. What you want to make sure is you are addressing them, because if you don't, your users are going to be confused, and they're even going to question the value and or the relevance of the CRM. And now you have people that are unenthusiastic, have not bought in, and confused. So again, what are you doing? You are taking yourself farther apart from driving your adoption rates up, because this confusion will extend the CRM learning curve, and in some cases it will create adoption resistance. And don't be fooled. Just because people are not telling you that they don't like it doesn't mean they don't like it. A lot of this resistance is passive. So these are the things you want to be aware of so you can tackle them. So let's talk about some of the factors to consider in this practical alignment between practices and the way the CRM is set up. Number one, does the CRM facilitate the work of the users? In other words, does it make my life easier? That's a question you need to answer from a user perspective, not from your own, from the user. Are the dependencies with other areas also automated? Meaning, oh yeah, we have this great CRM, but guess what? Everybody else is in a different page, in a different era, and we can't get the information that we need from them to be successful. Because now that's going to create a bottleneck for you, and you want to make sure that those are considered. It may be that you start at a very low level of automation, but that eventually you increase that. And by the fact that you have that plan, you can share that plan with these guys. And now you're telling them, hey, guess what? You know, this is only the beginning. It's not just going to solve our problem, but it's also going to solve the problems that we have with other areas. Okay, I hope this is making sense. Number three is integration. I don't want people going to, 6 different systems to get the information that they need. No, I want them to go to one system, my CRM, and my CRM is already connected with my ERP, with my inventory, with my commission payment system, so that all I have to do is work in one place, and this one platform will take care of updating everything else. And when I need information from somewhere else, then this platform draws the information and gives it to me right here on my fingertips in this one system. Because less is more, and that equals higher levels of productivity. The other thing you want to look at is make sure you're using your mobile features. A ton of customers go out and buy it, and they choose Salesforce because it has the greatest mobility in the world, but then when they start, they don't use it. Well, why? Everybody agrees that you want your salespeople and your field agents more out there with your customers, right? So have them be able to do exactly what they would do in the office from wherever they are at any time. The next thing you want to look at is simplify the process. Again, there's a common thread here. Less is more. If I have a sales cycle with 13 different phases, I am creating an enormous amount of complexity that I don't need to create. Minimize the phases and increase the practice adherence. In other words, you cannot go from phase A to phase B unless you've done A, B, C, D. Okay, and so instead of me making it longer, what I'm doing is I'm making it more compact. So when you're in this stage, these are the things that need to happen. And once these things happen, then you move to the next one. You're doing two things. A, you're driving efficiency, and B, you're driving adherence to your best practices. And at the same time, you're simplifying the process. So this is absolutely critical because your users are going to truly appreciate that. Seize the opportunity to embed best practices. These guys need to see, the users need to see that yes, there's going to be a change. Yes, it's not the way I used to do it before, but it's for the better. And guess what? I am convinced it's for the better. So that's really, really important. The next thing is you want to reject manual reporting. I cannot tell you guys the number of times that I see that we're doing a report automatically in the CRM, but because, somebody in the organization is used to seeing them in another format, now we're spending time, dumbing it down, taking it to Excel and making, don't do that. Reject manual reporting. All the reporting needs to be done in the CRM. If there's information that I cannot get out of CRM, then the question is, what do I need to configure or what do I need to integrate with? Which again is addressed earlier on these key factors to consider. The next best practice that you want to look at to enable adoption is collaboration in the CRM. You know, if I have you know, Kadisha that's using the CRM and she's now sharing information with her colleagues in the CRM and she doesn't even have to go to emails and she's getting immediate responses here, guess what's happening? You are working more efficiently, more productively, more effectively. You're getting more done. And that's what you want. You want to be able to collaborate in the CRM. And you want to be able to have your meetings in the CRM. You know, we live in the CRM. Everything we're doing is happening right here, right now. So don't come here with reports. There's nothing that you need to do before the meeting. Just show up and let's see what you've done in the CRM and we'll take it from there. So that's going to drive the behaviors that you ultimately want to, you know, increase those adoption levels. The third adoption inhibitor that we want to talk about is a lack of CRM understanding and purpose. If you go out and you ask 6 people, you know, what's a CRM to you? Other than the fact that it stands for customer relationship management, the uses are going to be probably quite different. And the purpose for what it's being used could be quite different. So you want to make sure that there is a very clear understanding of why you guys are embedding it, what are you trying to achieve with it, and why this has a crucial purpose to being better as an organization. Remember that most changes are accompanied by some degree of resistance or skepticism. What you want to do is eliminate or minimize this resistance. And in order to do that, you need to clearly articulate what are the benefits that we're going to get out of the CRM. You need to train the teams that are going to be using the CRM. And once you've done that and they've started using it, you want to coach them so that they can do it better every day. And you're going to do all this while still injecting a high dose of enthusiasm. So this is absolutely crucial. You want to keep that enthusiasm level high because you want to show them why this is going to be so much better. Believe me, it's not about them drinking your Kool-Aid. It's about them getting excited about something that can happen and will happen if they follow the rules. So these are absolutely crucial in your process. Okay, so let's look at some factors to consider here. Number 1, reinforce the CRM vision. You know, this is why we did it. These are the objectives that we're aiming to achieve. And therefore, there is an existential purpose. It's not just that management decided we need this to do more reports. Trust me, I've heard that. No, you know, it's about a completely different conversation. Oh, sorry for that. I see that my screen has completely abandoned me. Here we go. Okay, so you want to make sure that that existential purpose drives and motivates the users. Also, remember, this is crucial. Training is not a one-time event. Okay, nobody ever went to one training and learned everything they had to. So you need to provide coaching and you need to provide resources for continuous learning. In other words, you know, here are videos. Here is a gamification tool to reinforce your knowledge. Here are sessions that we're going to have in our meetings to refresh best practices. This is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time process. 3, provide the resources post-training. You know, whether that be very short, 3 to 5 minute, you know, training videos based on specific topics. How do you create a report in the CRM? You know, when do I convert a lead? You know, things that you know are frequently asked, those are the ones that you want to be able to answer through videos. People don't like reading anymore. They don't have the attention for it. So if you do 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute videos, they're going to go to that. They're going to gravitate to that. Blogs, you know, have a feed that's continuously giving information about how other people are succeeding with the CRM. You know, use your collaboration tool in your CRM and post links to what other people are doing and succeeding, whether that be internally or externally. Have people see and feel the improvements that they can also experience if they're using the CRM properly. Point number 4 here is create excitement. Okay, you want to drive excitement. You want people to be enthusiastic, and you're going to do this through a solid communication plan. You're going to be continuously feeding information that reinforces that enthusiasm, which you can complement with contests. Now, salespeople love contests. Make them fun, and make sure that these contests are designed to recognize your users that you want to have their behaviors replicated. So those leading users, those are the ones that you're recognizing. Those are the ones that you are, sharing with the rest, and you're making the heroes of the process. Other people gravitate to that. If they get recognition, everybody else wants recognition, so they'll move in that direction. And if you make it fun, all the better, because it's going to feel like this is part of what we should be doing, not, oh my God, another thing. Recruit engaged CRM champions. Peer-to-peer influence is the strongest influence you're going to find in your organization, especially in sales. So if your top selling, your top selling performers are using the tool properly, these are your first, ambassadors. Bring them in, make them champions, give them a leadership role. They're going to appreciate that. 1, because you're recognizing their work, and 2, because you're giving them some kind of leadership opportunity. So it helps their development, it helps the rest of the user, it brings everybody on board. And listen and respond quickly to user feedback. A lot of, I cannot tell you, and it's terrible. I tell you, it's terrible. The amount of sessions where we see, users ask their leaders, hey, why are you doing this way if we can do it this other way? And their comments get completely disregarded. Oh, already this is an improvement, so we're going to go this way. You need to listen and you need to respond. Hey, Leandro, thank you so much for that feedback. And by the way, we're going to take that into account. And by the way, we thought about that, but we didn't do it for this reason. See, now I'm showing respect. I'm showing that I care, and I'm showing that I have given it thought. Okay, so now they know that their needs are being taken into account. So these are the things that you absolutely want to make sure that you're looking at. They are all going to be, enablers to your adoption. And finally, on the 4th issue that we feel is really important is the low perceived value. If management or users do not see the value, your whole project is deemed to fail. So you want to make sure that management is, presenting their reports with the data in their CRM, that those dashboards that are being showed at a corporate level are coming from the CRM, that, the information that is trickling down to the users is as a result of the customer and the user insights in the CRM, because now people realize that, without this tool, we can't really function properly. So it becomes a necessity. I mean, we all survived without email, right? But who of us can imagine life without it today? I mean, we all survived without a cell phone. But, who of us can really live without one today? And this is exactly what's going to happen here. So you want to make sure that that perceived value is as high as possible. And what is perceived value related to? Well, very clearly, it's related to business outcomes. In other words, what's my goal? What's my objective? What are my metrics? So what you need to do is demonstrate, A, increased productivity. Automation is making it faster. Mobility is making it not only faster, but more convenient and easier. And customers are appreciating it because they're getting quicker responses. Effectiveness. Hey, we are getting more leads. Leads are being followed up on more consistently. We are driving conversion rates. We are we're doing one-time resolution, more often than we used to. Our campaigns are returning a higher, value on investment. We're getting more leads. More of those leads are qualified. More of those qualified leads are being converted. So you need to demonstrate how the CRM is driving productivity, how it's driving effectiveness, how it's delivering more face time for your salespeople and for your field people, how it's driving better customer relationships. Because of this, now we know the customer needs better, or we know the customer wants better, so we're getting better customer satisfaction scores. We're getting better net promoter scores. In other words, more customers would recommend our services. You know, we're getting better customer insights. I know when the birthday is for the customer, so I get to call them. And that's building stronger relationships. Okay, so these are the demonstrated benefits that you need to be able to share with management, with users, so they can see that this is not only going to make them better later, it's already doing it now. You know, your better understanding of your customer needs. What are your products? You know, what are the products that your customers are buying? And the customers that buy product A, what other products are they buying? So if product A customers are also buying product C, there's an opportunity for us to do targeted selling of product C to customers with product A. You know, now you're able to do this proactively. You know, whatever your other key improvement metrics are, those are the ones that you need to be demonstrating that they are improving as a result of the CRM. And finally, you want to make sure that you're driving best practices. It used to be that, you know, our salespeople would do, you know, 8 calls a week. Now they're doing 6 calls a day. It used to be that the people that were handling, you know, strategic accounts were doing account reviews once every 3 months. Now they're doing account reviews once every 2 months, and they're involving their contacts in more, you know, events, and they're building stronger relationships, and we're getting to develop more business. You know, so these are the things that you want to be able to show, and show them consistently. These are the ones that are going to get management's attention and users' attention, and everybody's going to go out there and really buy into what you're doing, get excited about it, and, you know, get on board with this movement that you're trying to, you know, promote within your organization. And one of the key questions I get is, you know, what are the 4 tips you can use right now to increase adoption? You know, so I get all this, you know, it seems like it's a lot of things. It's not really. If you go back to these things, it's not a lot. We're only focusing on 4, you know, common issues, and then we're addressing those individually to give you very concrete ideas that you can start using today. But if you want to go out and you want to do something right now, because I want to get a quick win out of this webinar, ask users about what are their inefficiencies. You know, what are you doing today that's not making you effective? And what can I do to make it easier for you? And embed those in your CRM. You're going to see an immediate uptick. Because guess what? Something that I had to do manually, now I can automate. A quick win for that is, you know, electronic signature. You know, yeah, we get all this information in CRM, but when we have to prepare this proposal, we have to go to Word, and we have, you know, what if I did that automatically and I have your contract ready by the click of a button? Will that make it easier for you? Oh, hell yes. Great. That's a win. That's what you want. 2, ask users about what they like and dislike regarding the CRM itself. In other words, what are you doing now in the CRM that you like, and what are you doing that you don't like? Okay? Keep those positive aspects, make them better, but look at those negative ones and see which ones you can do away with. Because if this is just taking up time and it's not adding value, and they're already telling you that they resist it, get it out of their ways. Why are you adding more hurdles to the same 100-meter dash, right? I mean, don't do that. Just take away the hurdles and give them more free space to be more productive and to accelerate and to do things better. 3, enthusiastically reinforce the ways in which the CRM is benefiting them. Take a group, say, hey, which of the people here are seeing some, you know, huge wins? You are. Great. Let's do a little forum with you. Let's see what things work for you. And now let's replicate that. Let's share that. Let's make a case study out of this. You know, and create a session continuously, you know, which could be on your collaboration tool, which could be on your blog, which could be in your meetings, to share these best practices and help others, you know, onboard themselves into them, because maybe they're not doing it because they're not aware. You know, but even if they're not doing it because they're not aware, the minute you start promoting wins, the more people are going to gravitate towards the system. And number 4, challenge and motivate your teams to recognize the best users. You know, you need to start setting a behavioral pattern that drives the behaviors that you want. So if these guys are doing it right, recognize them, reward them, use them as example, and you'll see how the rest of the people are going to gravitate. Hey, what are these guys doing that we're not? And back that effort with contests, you know, so that they can see that there's something in it for them if they do great, with recognition, and of course with rewards. Get them all excited. These are 4 things you can do right now. Doesn't matter what CRM you have. This will start getting people kind of re-excited about, you know, the CRM, and it's going to help them to, you know, start adopting it, you know, more enthusiastically, more efficiently, and you'll start seeing some immediate results on this. So now I want to go into the adoption enablers. And these are just the quick things that you want to make sure that you have, whether you've already deployed your CRM or whether you're looking to deploy your CRM. One, have a holistic vision of the project. You need to be able to paint a picture of where you're heading and how this is going to get you there. Have very clear and realistic objectives. My goal is not to have 100% adoption on day one. That's unrealistic. Let's get 50% adoption in the first 2 weeks. Let's get 75% adoption in the first month. Let's get 100% adoption in the first 3 months. Set up objectives that are achievable, because it's going to be much more motivational to hear about the things that you're achieving than to hear about the things that you're not achieving. Make sure leadership is involved and engaged. Make sure influencers are involved and engaged. Make sure that your practices are aligned with what you're doing in the CRM so that there's no confusion. Make sure there's great continuous communication about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what they can expect to see. Make sure that you have a high degree of responsiveness and enthusiasm. If people are not saying anything and you're communicating, that means they're not listening. So ask again, hey, are we feeding you the information in the wrong format? Do you want to see this differently? Is it that you don't care at all about what we're doing? If you don't care, why? Be honest with us, because that's going to help you find the real answers. Make sure you have an effective change management program. Remember, it's not technology that you're changing, it's behaviors. So you need to make sure that that is embedded into your deployment program. And if you've already deployed, make sure that's embedded today so you get the levels of adoption that you're looking for. Make sure you have proper coaching and ongoing support. Avail yourself of a partner that can provide you with these resources, people that have done it over and over again. It's not the same if I would have done this presentation 13 years ago when I started, getting involved with CRMs than if I do it today. Why? Because experience changes your opinion of things. Why? Because experience does. And then you realize that a lot of theories don't work. So it's the stuff that work that you actually start promoting. And that's what we're trying to do with these webinars, is giving you a sense of what are the things that are working out there for others. Make sure you have frequent enhancements. The CRM can go stale. If you did the CRM implementation 3 years ago and it looks and feels the same, you're not doing it right. Make the proper adaptations, because I'm sure your business evolves, products change, your methodologies change. And simplify your process continuously. Make it shorter, make it more concentrated, more compact, more doable, more measurable, so that you get more people on board with it. And live and collaborate in the CRM. The more you are in the CRM, the more you're collaborating in the CRM, the more you're feeding back in the CRM, you will get a lot higher degree of adoption, because eventually people will never leave the CRM. That's where they want everything. You go from, oh my God, I have to ask all these questions and put in the CRM, to actually asking these questions automatically and already putting them in the CRM as you ask them. So, you want to make sure that you're driving these enablers to get you to the next level. So we hope you've enjoyed the presentation. It's 11:48, which means we are right on time, given that we started about 4 minutes later to allow for more people to join us. So we're going to open it up right now for questions. And I'm going to be checking. By the way, Diana's with me, but if you don't hear from her, it's because she has some background noise. So I may be taking up some of these questions as they come in. So I see here Pavel is asking, can you read me? Not sure, Pavel, what that means. So if you can, clarify that for me, I'll be happy to answer that. Okay, so some more questions here. This is a question, by the way, that somebody posted when they registered. And it asks benefits and functionalities of a CRM tool. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, because clearly, each business is looking to achieve different things, and the CRM can be the answer to these different things. But in short, the number one thing you need to do is, A, are you looking to increase sales? If you are, there's 100 reasons why CRM is going to help you achieve that goal. B, are you looking to provide a better customer experience? If the answer is yes, again, a CRM has another 100, benefits and functionalities that are going to help you achieve that. Are you looking to drive more effectiveness out of your campaigns? Again, if the answer is yes, there's going to be 100 reasons why CRM is good for you. The reality is that it's going to drive every piece of automation and every piece of process adherence that you need to drive best practices across your organization and to achieve incredible results. So for the person that wrote this, please write to me. You can write to us at info@doblegroup.com. Tell us what you're thinking, and without any kind of compromise, we can set up 30 minutes to understand your specifics and give you, the 10 or 15 reasons why it'd be very valuable for you to have a CRM tool. I'm going to move on because there's some questions coming in, so I want to make sure that I address as many as possible. By the way, Pavel, thank you. He just want to make sure that he was, his message was getting across. Pavel asks, we are implementing CRM in my company as a new tool. We're still in the adoption process, and it's been great. Now I want to move forward. That's excellent, Pavel. Again, we don't charge to talk to you, so if there is anything that you feel we can help you with, write to us again at info@doblegroup.com, and we'll, sit down with you and make sure that you embark on a very successful journey to your CRM implementation. So another question, do you have any advice on a pattern to follow? Yeah, I think that the key pattern to follow is in the enablers. If you already have the CRM, these are 4 that you want to look at right now. These 4 tips you can use right now to increase adoption. And if you haven't completed your CRM implementation altogether, look at these adoption enablers, because they'll give you an excellent blueprint as to the things that you need to take into account to be able to deploy it successfully and drive that adoption level. Okay, one more question. How to avoid these high failure rates regardless of the reasons? Yeah, I'm glad that the regardless of the reason thing got through, because I hate it when people tell me, oh yeah, I know that this failed somewhere else, I want to avoid it from failing here. Well, I don't know, because 2 businesses are never the same. Okay, so we need to understand your business to give you the best pattern possible. You avoid these failure rates by making the tool as relevant as possible to the practices that your salespeople need, or your customer service people need, or your marketing people need to be successful. So that's the number one thing. If you have a very clearly defined outcome of what you want to achieve, then you set a plan that moves you in that direction. And again, I hate to, sound like I'm promoting calls, but all I'm saying is I can help you a lot better if you write to me at info@doblegroup.com, and I will tell you, tell me how your business is working, tell me what you want to achieve, and I'll tell you exactly what you need to do to avoid these high failure rates. Another thing you can do also is go to our blog and go to our resource page, and there's a bunch of white papers that we do on a great CRM communication plan, common errors in adoption, and other information like that that can be very useful to you. But what you can rest assured is we can definitely help you avoid these failure rates. Just start with the things that we've discussed here. Oh my God, so many questions. Okay, so sometimes we do not include users to avoid project delays. How do you recommend we involve users without, impacting the timeline? I'm glad you asked that question, because I get that question a lot, because I always tell them, hey, are you involving your users? Oh, well, we don't have time for that. You know what? The reality is I'd rather spend an hour now than 10 hours later changing the whole thing. So believe me, you have time, because if you have time now, you're going to need a lot less time later, and your adoption rates are going to be dramatically higher a lot quicker. So what you do is you make that part of your project. So to avoid delays, what you do is when you're doing your timeline, you say, okay, so in this process, I'm going to have 4 user feedback sessions. And if the project is going to take you 4 weeks, you do one every week. If it's going to take you 4 months, you do one every month. That way, it's already embedded in your project plan. And trust me, you want to get them involved in the validation and testing process. You do not want them to highlight all the errors in the system when you're training them, because that immediately irradiates a bad vibe. So you want to make sure you do that proactively. And that's going to, I can assure you that's going to reduce your project delays. You're going to get more delays by not involving them than you are by actually involving them and making them part of your plan. Another question, the issue of alignment between people, process, and CRM. Who handles this? Is it us or the implementation partner? Well, the best way for you to measure if you have the right implementation partner is test out their experience doing this. Because for us, that's a very big thing. I mean, as a company, we don't come, we weren't developers looking for something to develop and sell to businesses. In our business, we were sales professionals and sales leaders, in telco and technology industries that came in and said, there's a better way. And it's going to require technology, but technology is only the enabler. It's not really the magic bullet, right? So to answer your question, what you want to do is you want to make sure that these processes that you're enabling are making the lives easier of the people that are going to use it. So if you recall in a couple of slides back, I talk about, what are the key factors to consider right here. We did this for the previous, where is it? Key factors, facilitate the work of users. That's number one. Number two, look at the dependencies with other areas. Look at your integration. So these are the things you want to make sure that you're looking at, because these all have to do with your process. And if you take this into account at the beginning, you're going to mitigate enormous risk and delays, and you're going to make the project a lot more successful, a lot more relevant from day one. Where can we source best practices when configuring the system? There's a bunch of information out there. If you tell me who you are, we actually have a white paper on that. You can do that through questions right now, or you can send us an email at info@doblegroup, because yes, there are best practices to setting up the system. Salesforce, as a matter of fact, has a bunch of resources on that. That's about, that's a very long topic, but I'll be more than happy to send you that information. What is the best approach to continuous optimization? That is a brilliant question. This is where things go wrong. So you get everything out, people are excited, they get it, they know their lives are going to be better and easier, and 3 months down the road, it's like, this never happened. Okay, so if there's something that's absolutely crucial, regardless of how well or how badly you do the work at the beginning, is you want to make sure you avail yourself of somebody, that has experience that's going to help you with coaching and refreshing and continuous training. There are great tools out there. Axonify for gamification is a phenomenal tool for reinforcement learning. Custom videos, 2-3 minute videos addressing the frequently asked questions from your users. Boom, that gets that settled right away. White papers, short white papers with very practical responses. That's going to help you. A coach that comes in, sits with your team, asks the right questions, looks at what needs to be adjusted, submits those adjustments. That's going to be very, very valuable. And we already have a CRM, some suggestions on how we can improve it right now. Well, again, I'm going to take you back here. These are the 4 tips you can use right now. Don't wait any longer. Start doing this, and you're going to get, an immediate uptick. People are going to see that you're serious about it. People are going to see that there are things they've been missing. Remember, you can have somebody say, oh my God, my iPhone, it's terrible. I don't like my iPhone. I don't get to do much with it. Well, can you really say that if you're not properly trained on how to use the functionalities? You really can't. And you know what? A lot of people do that. You get the new boss, they come in, they say, well, last year they put the CRM there, and all of a sudden he's like, does it work? No, it doesn't work. And then the CEO asks, hey, we invested in the CRM, and he goes, oh, it doesn't work. Really? It doesn't work? Really now? Come on. Have you actually taken the time to understand it? Do you have a partner that's guiding you, telling you why it was set up, how it's supposed to work? So you want to go through that process. You want to make sure that, you improve it right now, by listening to people, by understanding what their issues are, finding out if your CRM can do it, and if not, make sure your partner can make those adjustments, or if you have the resources that you can make those adjustments yourself to get you there. So any other questions? I mean, you guys have really been terrific today. I've gotten more questions than I can remember in any of these presentations. All right, so I don't see any more questions. If you're shy or you feel you took too much time, please don't feel that way. We're here to serve you. Go ahead and write to me at info@doblegroup if you feel that Wait, I have somebody here raising their hand. Pavel again. Pavel, thank you for being so interactive. Okay, so he writes, can you please write the email address? So yes, it's info@doblegroup.com. Let me go to the chat here and write it down for you guys. Okay, so if you guys look at the chat, it says, I'm writing it down, info@doblegroup.com, and that will be directed to everybody. I mean, to the person that, that ultimately addresses it. If you want my email address directly, I'm writing that down as well, and, feel free to reach out to me. So thank you for asking, Pavel. I appreciate that. Okay, so he did take me up on that, any final questions offer. I do want to say that, we have, really amazing products to help you drive adoption. We have training, which could go from custom video trainings to on-site 2-day trainings. We have coaching to work with your sales leadership, adoption, and change management. We have a commercial processes consulting practice that can help you establish whether you are in fact abiding by industry best practices or custom best practices for your business. And then of course we have the configuration, development, integration, and support team that can help you with any additional technical issues that you may have. So we're here to help you out. This is done for free, and the objective is to help people understand what they can do to improve, but we also love to sell our product. So feel free to join us if you feel that we can help in any way. We thank you for your time today. Pavel, thank you again. I just saw your note, and I'm glad that you're finding this truly valuable to you. Continue to get more by attending these webinars or by following us on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever your choice may be. And if you want to have a say in our upcoming webinars, I'm going to launch a poll right now that should be on your screen. So here are some polls that we are looking at. CRM as a collaboration tool, enabling customer centricity with CRM, CRM for sales, CRM for customer service, and CRM for marketing, for managing campaigns. So if there's a particular preference, choose yours. I promise you, we do take this into account, and we will be making our decision based on those that you feel could be more popular for you. So I'm going to keep that poll open there until we close out. And we thank you again for being with us. I know Diana is going to be sending out information for our next webinar, which is building a great sales team. I'm very excited about that webinar as well. That'll be in about a month's time. So keep out on the lookout for that. And again, guys, thank you very much for joining our webinar today. We look forward to having you in our future sessions. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.